Hello, and welcome to the North America Lightship Global Jam closing ceremony powered by Niantic and Playcrafting. I'm your host, Holly Peppermint, and I am joined tonight with Dan Butchko, who is the founder and CEO of Playcrafting. New to the party, Playcrafting partnered up with AR technology company Niantic, the creator of augmented reality hits like Pokémon Go and Harry Potter Wizards Unite, to power a global AR software jam this summer.
That's right, Holly. And so as part of this overall global jam, we have 3 events taking place around the world, virtually, of course, running from July through September, with 60 developers selected and paid to participate, receiving training and a workshop about Niantic Lightship, and then creating their own games and experiences with the Lightship AR development kit. Now, Lightship encompasses the full Niantic platform, including the suite of tools and services that power Niantic's own games. Niantic Lightship ARDK is a robust set of tools that enable developers to create multiplayer experiences and really bring them to life with depth, physics, occlusion, and semantic segmentation. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with Playcrafting, Playcrafting is a game development company, of course, which I run, that fosters a massive network of developers from around the world. We connect these developers and others to exciting new technologies like Lightship to help generate games and experiences that might not otherwise have been possible. This stream is just part 2 of an around the world adventure that we're doing all summer long. Tonight, we're concluding the US leg of this jam. It ran from July 6th until a few days ago, July 12th. Next up, we will be going to Europe, July 25th to July 31st. And then finally, we'll be going all the way over to Japan, August 29th to September 4th. Now, Playcrafting and Niantic are both in the process of selecting participating developers based on their region, experience, diversity, and studio size. Head over to lightshipglobaljam.com. That's lightshipglobaljam.com to learn more and apply if you are a developer who might want to be a part of one of those jams. We're looking for devs to build games and experiences with the overarching themes of discovery, exploration, and movement. The software doesn't have to just be AR games. It can include things like, general experiences and apps attached to fitness, sports, social impact, entertainment, music, travel, and more. Apps can even be created using other technologies, which would then use Lightship to help bring them to life.
And what makes this jam so awesome is that Niantic is funding these awesome teams to spend a week developing their games and apps with an emphasis on some of Lightship's key features, which include things like real-time mapping, multiplayer, and semantic segmentation. So all around, this is just a really cool opportunity for these teams. So it's been a long week. The jam has come to a close in the North American leg of this global jam. And before we catch up with our teams, let's take a look at some of the highlights from this North American jam.
No.
All right. A lot of great stuff in there. I think, we do so many different jams, and there is such an element to it where you're given a very specific, often short period of time to get stuff done. So it's no surprise to see devs like, oh, I messed something up, or laying back, taking a break, and sort of, managing their time wisely all throughout. And that's something I'm glad we could get a nice little peek into, given that this is fully virtual and no one other than some of the team members themselves are in the room together. With that being said, now it's time to actually recap with each of our teams. Let's welcome back from Detroit, Urban Electronic.
Today is day 1 of the Niantic Lightship AR SDK Game Jam that's being brought to you by Niantic and Playcrafting. We are Team Urban Electronics. Right now, we are currently working on our roadmap. I know it's a bunch of gobbledygook right now, but I think we have some pretty good things. Some inclusive objects right there for you. Boom, see that? There you go. There's some real stuff. Progress already. Next up, multiplayer and a lot of other cool things. Happened.
I think my computer just crashed.
Oh my god. We have no time for this. No time for this.
No.
Check back in a few, gang. Hopefully we're still here. Day 5 or 6 of the game jam, we don't even know. Yes, it looks like we're relaxing right now, but no, we're actually under pressure because we can't get the networking to work. We cannot get the ARDK's networking to work, and we are stuck. So, it's midnight almost, and we're taking a break to play some billiards. Right now, G is winning, yes.
Of course.
It's not of course, he's lucky. But we'll check back to see if we're still alive, because this has been one heck of a game jam. But we will continue on.
Did you place him somewhere?
Yeah, he's right over there.
Oh, okay. Are you gonna feed him?
I have never in my life wanted a pet pig more than after seeing what Urban Electronics is bringing to the table. I am so excited to catch up with them a little later on in the program. But first, let's check out and recap what Dev Branch did.
Hi everyone, I'm Leslie Brown from Arbitrary Metric. I'm one of the 4 on the crew for our team Dev Branch for the Lightship AR USA Jam. So I'm a big fan of the Walt Disney World theme parks, and I started off by thinking about how AR could be implemented in a live entertainment or leisure venue. For example, in Adventureland at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, there are a number of little trails you can take where you follow a predetermined path from point to point around the environment and explore scenery objects which you might have otherwise overlooked in order to complete a sort of treasure hunt adventure. All of this began to inform my inspirations for what the game would sound like. We knew we wanted to produce a feeling of wonder, exploration, and, dare I say, whimsy. So where I actually landed in the end with it was this piece, which is called the Dream Demo for some reason. I started off playing the ASM Hydrosynth that I have as an outboard synth, and just playing in some arpeggios and trying to find a chord progression that I liked. And then I just gradually added elements. So we've got a choir in here, which I think adds a lot of kind of breadth to the, I don't know, I suppose you could call them chorus sections. It mainly comes in 2 pieces. I'll give it a little play here so that you can hear what I mean. But we begin with arpeggios, and I wanted something that would loop around on itself and not become too obtrusive to get in the way of the gameplay, but also created an atmosphere of kind of like progression and discovery and wonder and things like that, with maybe a little hint of danger as well. These are the footsteps. I think I'm just applying reverb in this session, but it gives you the impression. And as the planet opens up to begin with, I wanted a kind of air of mystery to it. So we have a synth pad that kicks things off. Then we get into some chords on a dulcimer and a harp. And that's accompanied by a nice little blippy bloppy bit of synth in the background. So here's that fanfare.
So cool to see that game coming to life from Dev Branch. Such a dreamlike quality to it, and the music itself just brings that whole sort of like in real time, in 3D space puzzle to life. So cool to get that peek inside the process and really get to know, what their game is looking like and how it's shaping up. That being said, creative and technical exploration wouldn't be so rewarding without overcoming challenges. This next panel will be focused more on the Jam experience and talk about challenges that came up with their team and how they were overcome.
Harvey from Dev Branch. Am I talking through that now, or we're doing a round introduction?
Oh, you can introduce yourself if you'd like. That was great.
Sorry.
So no worries at all. So joining us now, we have Jess Harvey from Dev Branch. We have John Wolf from Urban Electronics. And then joining us from Niantic, we have the product manager, Amanda Witt. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. I'd love to start off with John. If you could please tell us about the project that you worked on for this week's Jam. I don't think we can hear you.
We could do it all through pantomime. It'll work perfectly well.
Yeah, that's fine. This is fun. Do the charades thing. That's fine. Not yet. Okay,
Nope.
No worries. Jess, I'll throw that question to you. We'll get you fixed, John. Sorry about that. Jess, tell us all about your team's project that you created this week.
Okay, so yes, we were making what was fundamentally a sort of little engaging puzzle toy, less focused on the puzzle, more focused on something you could explore with your hands and in 3D space, with the idea that it was sort of conceptually use case agnostic and could be sort of applied to anything really. So we went in with the abstract, whimsical little orrery setup that we've got going on there.
Nice. And John, it does sound like we have you back too. Throw that same question over to you. Tell us again, what did you work on throughout this US leg of the Lightship Global Jam?
So you can hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Yep. You're live.
Okay.
You're good.
All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, this was one heck of a week. What did I learn? What were the challenges? First of all, this was a blast. And I'm sorry, specifically your question was just what was the challenge I had?
Yeah, no. So first remind folks what you were working on throughout the week, and then we can dive into some of the challenges.
All right, my bad. Yeah, the goal was to make, so we had a pet simulator, and our objective was to be able to make a multiplayer race, because and you'd be able to race in augmented reality with this pet pig you have. So that was the objective, and we'll tell you about how it kind of came out.
Nice. So yeah, let's go right back to you, Jess. Obviously, we just saw this great video of the work that you and your team sort of put in and put together. What are some of the challenges that you faced in putting together what seems like it's coming together as such a beautiful sort of 3D puzzle game with a ton of atmosphere?
Okay, so, well, the main problem is that we were making a puzzle game, and it's kind of hard to play it by ear when it comes to how people will respond to puzzles. How other people are going to react will be vastly different to how you'll act, having designed it from the ground up. So having to come up with puzzles that had more of a sort of spectacle hook rather than focusing in on the mechanics was one of the trickier things to pull off, because that then needed a lot of bespoke behaviors in each level to make each one stand out and have its own unique character.
Wow. And we're seeing some video there on screen of what the actual game is shaping up to look like. Tell us a little bit more about how it works. Are you sort of swiping or tapping to turn some of those like parts of the path along the journey?
Yeah, starting with the very simple concept that everything has to have a sort of real strong haptic reaction to it. Everything you have to slide, turn, and treat as if you are looking at it in order to interact with it, while you guide this little man, the golem, to enter into the planet and play the tune.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So now that we've
John,
heard some of these challenges, oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure that no, it's okay. Since we had John have a little bit of a technical difficulty, I wanted to make sure we threw the same question over to him. So obviously, John, you have a very different game that you all are building out. Talk to us a little about some of the challenges of this sort of like pig meets Tamagotchi in AR game and experience that you're building.
Yeah, so there were technological challenges. Because it's a lot of what you need to do needs to have immersion. Everything needs to be pretty much like close to the ground. So meshing came in as a challenge, but also a huge benefit, because we want to be able to 3D map our environment so you can react with the environment. The better we have a one-to-one with what's going on in reality, the more immersion there is, the cooler it seems. So it was a lot of trying to understand how meshing would work, being sure that the mesh wouldn't move around, and being sure the plane was just completely flush with the ground. So if the pig looks like it's floating in the air, that's bad, right? So you have to be sure it's actually on the ground. So there's a lot of working on things like that. And then the multiplayer, I think I was very ambitious, as you recall. And I don't think we bit off more than we could chew, but we also had to learn, every single aspect of the SDK. And we just couldn't get that last little bit for that multiplayer environment to work. But, I'm looking forward to still working with Amanda to kind of figure out exactly how that would work. But those are the challenges, technological ones, just to be sure that we had the most immersion and realism as possible.
So we've already heard now that John mentioned working with Amanda. So now that we've heard about some of these challenges, Amanda, can you talk us through how Niantic supports developers in working through challenges like these?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm super excited about these demos. Both of them are really awesome. So great to see this kind of gameplay in these use cases. First, on the support side, I think there's kind of two areas. Like, we have our support community, and then we also are building out our developer portal and our guidance materials. So on the support community side, we currently have a forum space and a full-time support team that is there to help answer any questions and then funnel issues. And I would say also about 50% of our internal AR development team is also pretty active on this space. So we're super invested in making sure that our beta community can get the most out of the platform at this time. And we recognize that this is a new SDK and these are new features, and we do have a long way to go. So our teams are monitoring the space and providing input and troubleshooting, when needed, and also learning from the developer community. On top of this, I would say too, the community members that are part of beta are also starting to kind of help and guide when they can. Maybe they've gone through some of these challenges before. And so we're also seeing the community members themselves kind of helping each other. And then I would say the second, area of resource for supporting developers is going to be our developer portal, which we are still building out. We're building out our guidance materials. We're building out our documentation. But we do have some troubleshooting documentation to go through, our top issues, as well as kind of common FAQ. And so this can also be another resource for kind of going through some of these challenges and trying to find, some answers. And as we're going along, we're building out this developer portal, especially, with, helpful challenges that we can add that, John was going through with multiplayer. So this is all kind of helping us build out this platform.
That's amazing.
This is super encouraging to find out. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, during the jam, the support we got was really top notch. So I just wanted to say thank you for that because it really helped.
Yay. That's amazing. To find out that the devs are not walking through something as sophisticated as this in the dark. They are getting support directly from Niantic. That's like wonderful news. So now that we know that there are challenges popping up constantly during this process, I'd like to start with Jess here. What was the most unique challenge that your team faced when you were working this week?
Ooh, probably implementing the touch controls in a way that made sense with the amount of shakiness and directionality you could come in to looking at objects and cross-mapping them in a sort of rational, intuitive manner. Didn't get it quite right at the moment, but pretty pleased with how the math and underlying whatnot is going.
Awesome. So John, what was the most unique challenge that you guys faced this week?
I actually resonate with what Jess said because there was a challenge, but also was really happy with how it came out. So again, as maybe the last little clip showed you, that we actually did make a race happen. It wasn't multiplayer. That was something in and of itself. But what was really cool was, there's this thing called mock environments within the SDK. And then within that, these things called mock meshes. And these meshes are so cool, right? So you take your phone, you paint your entire environment, and you take the file off of the phone, and you can put it into Unity, and then the room that you mapped shows up over there. And I thought that was so awesome. And so by being able to do that, it made us being able to actually iterate so fast on the feature. And so when we actually finally adopted that and actually got it to work within our pipeline, our workflow, then the race came out exactly as we wanted it to, and then we played it on the phone and it showed up. So the most unique challenge was building out the feature itself in the engine, but then being sure that it mapped exactly what happened over in augmented reality. And these mock meshes totally like we're all for them now. So that was the most unique challenge, and we were really happy with the fact that, as you saw in the video, it came out to what it is that we actually programmed and wanted to have happen.
Nice. And obviously, jams are, such a place of overcoming challenges. And one of the biggest challenges that we give to folks, and that anybody who does a game jam or a hackathon or just jams in general, is the time constraint. So you're also sort of operating with this great new technology that not a lot of folks have sort of had their hands on with yet. At the same time, you're building a new project out, and you're doing it in a very short period of time relative to sort of building out something a little bit longer and more complicated perhaps. So hats off to both of you and to all the other developers that were participating in this leg of the jam for overcoming those obstacles. With that being said, I'll start with you, Jess. Now that we're sort of wrapping up this jam and the projects are sort of where they are right now, where would you and your team like to take this project moving forward?
Okay, moving forward, I'd want to confront the one thing that I regret about it, which is that we were really conservative in how we used VAR. It had been a little while since I personally have last worked on AR, and so I put way more overhead for dealing with problems that naturally arose. Using the Niantic kit was pretty much seamless. So in future, I would make use of full spaces and actually fully mapping environments and what you can do to expand puzzles into that sort of multi-dimensional real life space.
Great. And I'm sure, more testing and more iterating is sort of to come to sort of get it there. As soon as you open this up to doing something in the real world, there's so many other obstacles that come from the actual testing and everything along the way that, typical sort of 2D games or 2D apps and experiences have no idea and have no need to even, think about those things. So John, same question for you. Where are you going to take your project moving forward? What is sort of the next step?
It's still to get that multiplayer race down. I hate to always bring it back, but we really wanted to have that happen. So as soon as Monday comes, I mean, we need to rest. I was up until way too late for every single day of this game jam. But come Monday, again, it's just all right, let's take a step back. We had a lot of dirty code. It was quick and dirty, a lot of prototyping. So it's cleaning it up. What are the right ways that we can go about compartmentalizing these features? And then really getting the networking to work, because there are other events that we want to attend, and I don't want to put a deadline on ourselves, but definitely this summer we'd like to be able to have this type of multiplayer event happen. And now we have the race, so now it's just a matter, and the race itself was in a multiplayer environment. We just didn't have the second player enter. So as long as we get that second player to enter, we're good. So that's what we're doing. I'm still just trying to cashing on that promise that I had of being able to have a multiplayer race happen in Central Park or wherever it is. It's going to happen. So,
well, we want to help you make that happen, just so you know. So we're we're invested as well. Let's get it done.
Yeah, well, I'm happy. I'm really happy for that support.
And as soon as you had told me and Holly about that in our kickoff to the whole jam, it was this dream for us to be able to go and do it in Central Park. So let's definitely keep in touch and see what it takes to get there. And once it does, we will celebrate with you by racing.
I will.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Challenge accepted. All right. So before we go, Amanda, having spoken to these teams, what jumps out to you about their projects as sort of the biggest opportunities for further utilizing Lightship to bring them to life in the real world?
Yep. And so I'm super excited about both of these demos. And so I'll start, with Jess. I think that the puzzle opportunity in the space is a really cool idea. And I like the idea of maybe taking, the topography of the space, and maybe that is helping to interact with the different elements of the puzzle. So maybe the puzzle can, be on top of the coffee table and then kind of go down onto the floor. And there are ways to kind of use the different levels and surfaces of the environment to help build out a cool puzzle. I'm also intrigued too by the idea of multiplayer with a puzzle like that. So how can two players kind of interact with each other, and also love the audio interaction too as part of that gameplay. And then, with John, I love that there's the mesh there, that, the pets are walking around. I was thinking too about some of the semantic segmentation capabilities of ARDK. So the ability to recognize, sky, recognize grass, recognize buildings, and maybe that can be added into the gameplay, or, maybe the pet can have a different kind of interaction in the sky versus a tree versus the grass. So maybe there's a fun element that can be added there. Also, multiplayer, of course, right? So being and sounds like a great application for ARDK.
Well,
really exciting
this has
stuff.
been very exciting. This has been such a fun panel. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you so much, Amanda, for being here and for being such an amazing source of support for the devs this week. And thank you so much to Jess and John. I find both of your projects so charming, and I am so excited to see where you take them next. So congratulations on your hard work, and rest up.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Congrats, Jess. Thank you so much, everyone. Catch you next time.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Always so fun to get to pick the brains of the devs at the ends of these weeks.
Yeah, totally.
So thank you once again to our panelists. And before we check out the progress of our next teams, have you wondered what immersive AR multiplayer experiences look like on 5G? Let's take a look at the codename Urban Legends tech demo, which was built on the Niantic platform.
In 5G cities across the world, stories are unfolding.
Wow. So I think it's time for us to go ahead and debut another project from one of our Lightship Global Jam teams. Let's head on over to Boston and see what Petrichor made.
I've worked on AR projects in the past, and it's always been kind of a fulfilling experience, but I feel like I've worked with a lot of SDKs, but I guess it'll be nice to see kind of something that goes beyond kind of the base ARK, AR core functionality. Like the thing that detects the sky seems fascinating to me. And obviously, like, it'll be interesting to see what we can do using that tech beyond just like normal floor tracking, SLAM, and the usual.
Personal goal for me during the jam, I would say, is just kind of like learning more about AR and how to create, you know, like a toy or a more playful experience, because I've done a lot of more product focused AR work in the past, and like I'm really looking forward to this one with creating a, you know, a more playful experience, you know, that will hopefully by the end of it, my goal is to be able to hand it to a kid or a parent or, you know, whoever, and have them, you know, laugh and smile playing for a couple minutes.
There's making a game, and then there's showing a game, and it's sort of that difference, I think, when you cross that threshold of I've made something to someone is playing the thing that I've made, that you kind of cross over, like you level up as a game developer, if that makes any sense.
so great to have Petrichor back for another jam. Now it's time to welcome back 3 Division.
Wow. Yo, how's it look, Mike? Yeah, in my head,
He's showing magic tricks.
I just like to build things, so I think we're just going to have fun, and at the end, we'll have built something pretty cool.
Honestly, I just want to make something that's cool, that I'm proud of, and have a lot of fun doing it.
I'd like to push the level of quality as far as the creative in our jam time. I'd like to see how far I can push it with such a short amount of time.
What excites me most about augmented reality is the fact that instead of taking a user out of their environment, out of the real world to experience something, you bring a new and different kind of experience into their environment, into the real world, and I think that's super cool.
Bridges the physical, virtual worlds, and that opens up new opportunities to create innovative experiences.
The potential for merging reality with fantasy. I would say the most important thing is don't take shortcuts. Do the hard work. It'll pay off.
Just build things. If it's a new idea, if you're replicating someone else's project, just get in there and build things, and as you learn, you'll come up with new ideas.
You have to become good at it yourself before you can really, start working in it, and the best way of doing that is just playing around.
Everybody say hi.
Hey.
Hey.
I love it. If this virtual event stuff doesn't work out, then we might do.
So cool to see what 3 Division came up with. Obviously, the Lightship Global Jam is about more than just games, and so being able to place other folks in your physical/digital world and sort of hang out on the couch like we just saw in that final clip is such an interesting sort of first step toward what I'm sure can be a whole lot of different ways to engage on your phone in your real environment without actually having that other person in your real environment. So hats off to 3 Division and to all of our teams to really, see all of this incredible work they did on these projects in just 1 week. These projects just got started. So it's amazing to see how far along they've come, and you can already sort of see the proof of concept in them. And that being said, exploration, movement, and getting people together are really the theme of this overall jam. Holly caught up with Oliver from Petrichor and Lex from 3 Division earlier today on these themes. So let's go ahead and check it out.
I am joined today by Oliver Awat from Petrichor and Lex Avellino from 3 Division. Thank you both for being here today. It has been a long week.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So I'd like to start with Oliver. Can you please tell us what your team was working on for the jam?
So we ended up making something called interdimensional AR camera. We shifted a bit from what I originally mentioned, which was a Tamagotchi Chow Garden type game, and we kind of went with like a more mini game medley WarioWare style. But yeah, the idea is you've found a camera that can peer into different dimensions, and within each dimension, there's a sort of mini game, usually absurdist, that you try, that you play, and you kind of try to go through as many dimensions as possible.
That's amazing. So, how do you feel after the long week of finishing this project? Like, I obviously not finishing, but how do you feel about where you are right now?
I'm just glad it came together, to be honest. Like, there was a point where, like, we structured obviously the base of how the mini games would flow, and then we all kind of went our separate ways. And it wasn't until like Saturday, Sunday, that we were like, okay, yeah, let's put it all together. And then we did, and there were no hiccups. So we actually had a bit of time for polish. And like the full flow is functional, which I am happy with.
And
Yeah.
you said that you pivoted from your original idea. How soon into the process did you realize, okay, we've got to try something else?
The very second meeting, we I kind of gauged the room, right? And then I realized, I'm gonna show my age a little, but I'm 28. Everyone else is younger than me. So it had only dawned on me that no one had actually played with a Tamagotchi. So we weren't like super familiar, and no people didn't play Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. No one knew what Chow Gardens were. And like even though we had like a set plan, it made more sense, I thought, at that point to just like, oh, let's try to make something that we all want to make then. And then so we did. I think like 5 minutes into the meeting, we were just like, yeah, let's WarioWare. Like, yeah, we're in. Everyone's familiar. It's fast paced. It's we were able to like section it off easily. We're programmer heavy, 3 programmers, 1 artist. So like that sort of a genre just kind of fit the style of the jam even more so than the original.
Well, I'm really glad you guys found something that worked for you. I thought Tamagotchi was making a comeback, so I'm personally a little surprised, but it is what it is. Lex, would you like to tell us about what your team worked on this week?
Basically, we were working on something that's kind of like an AR video chat. And the idea is that, you know, your friends could join video and you could see them in the space around you, right? We built some similar concepts working with some video chat SDKs. But with augmented reality, there's the opportunity to do kind of the opposite of what we normally do, where normally we're putting you into the experience so that you can experience the virtual environment. But with this application, we wanted to actually take the virtual elements, in this case, you know, your friends joining you virtually, and bring them into your space. And so the idea was, again, give this kind of like personal experience. And it's cool, like even at its simple level, the ability to kind of like look up close, walk over and see people and look, and they're on your couch or they're next to your desk. It was personal and it was fun. So
I love this concept of bringing your friends into the space. It makes it feel so much more interactive and like they're actually there with you. We actually saw a little bit of a demo of what you were working on at the start of this week. So how are you feeling now after this week of jamming with where you are with your project?
Good, good. I mean, it's, you know, one leg of a long journey, just kind of developing what is this world of virtual interaction? How should people interact virtually? And what's going to be kind of the native language? What's different in terms of interacting this way, and what's personal about it? But then also what's the same, right? So this idea of you can see where people are looking when you have 3 dimensions. You can hear somebody in front of you or behind you when you have 3 dimensions. There's this sense of closeness or even like personal space. And it's interesting how all these things translate to the virtual world. So being able to pull that into augmented reality with the Lightship is really cool, because it just adds another dimension, gives you another way to experience this virtual interaction, and kind of helps us to define what is this virtual language.
That's so amazing. So one of the themes of this jam this week was getting people together, which I can clearly see from the 3 Division project. I'd like to shift over to Oliver. And so our themes for this week were things like exploration, movement, and getting people together. So Oliver, either in your jam builds or in your potential future plans, how can you see your team interpreting those themes?
Yeah, so the context of the game was we wanted it to be something that you could basically play wherever, and depending on where you play it, the games themselves would kind of adapt to the environment that you kind of scan. But in terms of togetherness, within the scope of the jam, we're all remote, so we didn't actually have a good, clear way to properly test networking, specifically because it was only one of us that had a way to build onto a target device. But ideally, we would want to make mini games that are designed for two people, kind of back-to-back action sort of thing, where maybe it's competitive, maybe it's cooperative, something like that. But yeah, within the scope of the jam, unfortunately, I was the one with the iPad, and I couldn't just send it around to people to test as well.
You were your own testing division, and that's okay. So Lex, I guess I can sort of tailor this question to you then, since we've already talked about the themes a little bit. So how did the jam environment this week help shape your team's process?
Yeah, totally. So I can relate to what Oliver said in terms of having a remote team. My team, we work together, 40 hours a week or more, and we're all over the country, right? So we've got guys in Philadelphia, Dallas, Phoenix, and basically this is how we work every day, right? And so creating applications that allow people to collaborate, that allow people to feel a little bit closer, that's been something that's been personal to us in this process, because I mean, the virtual environments that we're creating, even outside of the jam, we use them for meetings, right? Like this is something where we're actively eager to have new ways of interacting, new ways of expressing each person's personality and just getting a sense for each other. Because I mean, some of my teammates I've literally never met. These are people who are my employees, who work for me 40 hours a week, and I've never met them personally. So the more we have opportunities to have more personal interactions and to have a deeper experience virtually, it just makes for a richer work experience and enable us to do more.
Now, Oliver, how do you think your project was influenced by the themes of this jam? Like, which theme do you think was the most influential for your team?
Yeah, so I think the idea of using your phone as this viewport to view something that is in the real world, but you can't see physically unless you look through the phone. We kind of have we had this spy looking glass type of design with a lot of the mini games. And I think that was the most influential for sure. There's something about just how quickly the meshing was being done by Lightship is insane. I've worked with a lot of AR stuff already, so the fact that it was kind of we kind of cheated a little bit. The first mini game is specifically made to just map out the area, and then the following mini games is to kind of play within that area. And it was I think that alone was kind of what shaped everything around it. And the fun kind of came from spawning stuff and having it live within the world, kind of influencing something, even though you're not physically placing a body. Sorry, one of the mini games we place a body. It's, the fact that you can see it through the device and physically put a body on the couch was just oh yeah, this is it. This is a mini game. Yeah.
I can actually sense your excitement of getting to play with all the Lightship features, so this is really cool. So I'm going to turn it to Lex. What was the biggest lesson that your team learned this week?
Yeah, absolutely. A big part of it is just the constant lesson of how to fit these different pieces together. We were working with the Lightship SDK, but at the same time, we're also working with our video chat SDK. And being able to fit these kind of different technologies together and how to problem solve, that's kind of been our modus operandi, is just problem solving niche little compatibilities and lots of iteration. So lots of late nights, hey, can you hear me now? That kind of thing was a big lesson for us, just always learning how to problem solve new things and just trying out a lot of different stuff, because sometimes we can reach out for help, and sometimes you're just kind of stuck at 3 in the morning trying to figure out, how are you going to fit these two pieces together?
It always helps to have a team that can be adaptable to any new problem that pops up. So it sounds like you lucked out. So Oliver, what was the biggest lesson your team learned this week?
Ooh, pre-planning is very important, and we should try to make sure everyone has a set device that can test with. This was kind of we kind of find out like as soon as we got access to Lightship, we were like, wait a minute, it was like S8 Plus, or it was phone devices that we didn't have personally, but we did have like the company iPad which could run it. And yeah, pre-planning is key. But also I think we did a really good job of pivoting from the initial idea, because I have a feeling the initial idea would have come with its own sets of challenges that would have been harder to solve, specifically because of that limitation of having the one test device.
So it sounds like you both went through a lot this week and you overcame a lot of challenges. Lex, what are you most proud of your team for?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I mean, it's that problem solving thing. Like you said, we have just been super blessed in terms of the team that we have. And that's what I think my team excels at, is just problem solving, unique situations, and understanding systems, right? Because what we've been given here with the Lightship ARDK is a tool to speed up what we're doing, to be able to be creative and iterative. And that's a huge part of being able to create something unique, is seeing how people are going to work with it, being able to get real world experience rather than just kind of going off of your first idea. Like Oliver said, this ideation process, being able to pivot is really important. And the ARDK allowed us to do that. But you have to be able to do those kinds of pivots. You have to be able to test and continue to iterate and play. And that's going to be the best way to figure out how are people going to naturally use this new technology, this new virtual language. So I'd say, yeah, just this creative problem solving, being quick on their feet. These are the kind of things that I think my team excels at really well, and also fit really well with this kind of iterative environment within the ARDK, where you have a pre-existing tool set that's really solid and gives you the ability to try out a lot of different things quickly.
It is truly an art of improvisation in a way. Oliver, what are you most proud of for your team this week?
Yo, people stepped up. I couldn't have done it without everyone else. It was like it at the start. It was kind of like a rocky, like, oh no, what are we getting ourselves into? And like day 3, I was just like, we kind of have a build. It's kind of functional. But luckily, the Niantic call. I think we had a Niantic call with them Thursday. That just like, whoa, everything they said just shaped the project and kind of like focused in on like what we had to kind of like do and not do. And from there, something magical happened that weekend, and we made 5 mini games, and then it all came together and nothing broke at the end. So, yeah.
Just like moments of beautiful chaos where it all comes together.
Yeah, it's
all right.
Somehow we stuck the landing, but if you had asked me like 4 days earlier, I don't know if I would have been I don't know what we're proud of, but now we do. We have a fully functional game. Yeah.
You don't want to psych yourself out too much looking ahead. You just kind of put yourself into the thick of it, and then when you're on the other side, you're like, hey, we did that.
Yeah, we did it. Yeah.
So this week, obviously, jams like these are about just building the foundations of these experiences. Lex, where do you see the future of your project, and where are you hoping to take your project moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we didn't get to explore as much as I would have liked was more of the meshing functionality, because when you can bring these people into your environment, that's really cool. But we wanted to do the opposite as well and be able to take that mesh and pull it into a virtual environment that the user is in themselves, so that as they're in this video call, they could actually navigate around your experience, create some more motion and interaction, so they're feels like there's a little bit more interplay and interaction between the host and the guests, and just create something that is pulling people together more, right? Bringing more elements back and forth, where you're bringing them into your space, you're also transporting your space into their virtual perspective, and just creating more synergies and, again, more of this closeness that makes you feel like you're in the same space.
And you all look so happy in that little video when you're all on the couch and you realize that it worked. You're like, hey.
Yep.
I love
Yeah, exactly.
that. Oliver, where do you see the future of this week's project going? What would you like to build on it going forward?
So we have kind of like a bite-sized piece of a mini game collection, and I wonder if there's some way we can take it as like more of a daily, weekly experience, where you kind of get like missions assigned to you, and it's more of like find 10 giants hiding behind buildings type of thing. Because right now we kind of proved, yes, WarioWare, but it would be nice if we had more. So I tried at the semantic segmentation, where it could detect the sky, it could detect buildings. And I really wish we had more time to explore that portion of it, because I think like right now we kind of proved, yes, we can take something, shove it into a phone, but then we want the more. We want to expand what's in the phone to something more like what Niantic's been doing, and expand it into the real world. Like that's the part that I think we can really take it.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to see more from both of your teams. Hopefully we get to see more of these projects being builded upon in the future, perhaps, or maybe new projects as you try to test the limits of what's possible with Lightship. But congratulations to both of you and your teams. Pat yourselves on the back. It's been a long week, but you made it out on the other side. Thank you, Past Holly, and thank you again to Lex and Oliver for joining us earlier. Now, before our final panel discussion, Niantic returned to Mobile World Congress this year with a bang. The sound of magical spells could be heard all around Barcelona as their playable Urban Legends demo premiered at the annual gathering of tech leaders. Let's take a look.
We're delighted to partner with Orange at MWC for the first ever deployment of our Urban Legends multiplayer experience, which we built from the ground up exclusively to demonstrate the benefits of augmented reality gaming on 5G networks. Urban Legends is a shared multiplayer AR experience where players work collaboratively to defeat opponents and collect AR keys, which you have to use to free the captive Yeti. The sub-25 millisecond latency enabled by 5G is what makes this experience possible, so that everyone on your team can interact with AR objects simultaneously, which results in a more immersive shared gaming experience.
Here in Mobile World Congress at the Orange booth, you can really enjoy 5G from Orange with Urban Legends. That's augmented reality gaming powered by Orange 5G and in partnership with Niantic. We already have launched 5G in 6 countries, and we are very eager to get a lot of new experience for our customers, especially in augmented reality and virtual reality.
Clearly, it's a demo that allows you to be in the game. It's immersive. You've got to see exactly what you get to do, and you get it, and that's why it's a great experience.
5G SA enables us to reduce latency. For entertainment, it's key, and you really need to be able to address locally the sufficient connectivity to experience a no-freeze at any time.
We formed the Niantic Planet-Scale AR Alliance with some of the world's top network operators to accelerate the development and collaboratively define the future of consumer-focused 5G AR experiences.
And we have to get everybody enjoying this 5G with real experience, with gaming experience, with enthusiastic and positive experience for this new generation.
Niantic is regarded as a leader in AR, and now we're looking to unlock the full potential of 5G within our AR experiences and within the development community through our Lightship platform.
Welcome back. In the spirit of this jam and the projects these amazing creators made, I'm super excited to bring more guests onto tonight's show. Now, obviously, this is brand new technology that folks are just getting their hands on for the first time. let's chat with a couple of our developers to find out what new capabilities have been unlocked in their workflows by leveraging the actual Lightship ARDK's technology.
We are joined now live from Dev Branch. We have Nick Freeman, and rejoined by John Wolf from Urban Electronics and Lex Avellino from 3 Division. Thank you all for being with us here tonight. How are we all feeling?
Hopefully we're catching up
audio.
on. Yeah, it looks like some of our audio's down. All right, we'll keep going, then we'll fix it as we go if there's anybody that's muted
Testing.
So there we go. I hear you.
That's
Loud and
one.
clear.
2. Got 2 now.
There we go.
You hear me?
Nick, do we have you?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, we are in
Let's
business.
go.
Okay, awesome.
These challenges we're overcoming. Awesome. So for Lex and John, you were both using Lightship to help build out existing ideas or apps that you already had sort of in place. What was it about Lightship specifically that really helped you level those projects up from where they started before you brought in Lightship to where they are now? Let's start out with Lex.
Yeah, on our side, I mean, we've had some experience with AR and AR development. We've got a team with a broad variety of skills, but just having this kind of accessible functionality and being able to implement faster, iterate faster, allowed us to kind of take a lot of the concepts that we'd already developed, a lot of the ideas, or we've been talking about kind of like the language of virtual and the different ways that people interact, and to be able to kind of take what we've learned and bring it into AR very quickly. Being able to try out a new space or take existing experience and apply it in a new way can be slow, can take a lot of time and a lot of extra learning, but having this tool set kind of right out of the bag just makes it a lot easier to iterate and get through that initial grind to get something that's actually enjoyable and plays like you'd expect it to.
Nice. Sounds like there's a lot of streamlining in there, so you don't have to go to 15 different places, and now you can just go to one.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, John, same question for you. Obviously, we had you on the show earlier today. We were talking about a little bit more about what you've been working on and some of the challenges you faced. But, what was it specifically about bringing the game over to Lightship and integrating Lightship that really helped level up the project from where it was to where it is now?
I would say occlusion and meshing. So the occlusion aspect, helps immersion. The fact that when you have something in augmented reality and it's blocked by a real object really makes it look more real. And that was something that we had been wanting to do for a while, but the Lightship AR SDK just made it happen like that. So that was really cool. That was a low-hanging fruit. And the other one would be, again, the meshing. From what I won't get too technical into it, but again, that 3D mapping is very hard to do with conventional augmented reality technologies thus far. But the SDK allows you to really, again, map that entire environment. And that whole racing feature that we made, we wouldn't have even thought about making for another 6 months or maybe even a year. But as you can see here, we were ambitious, and the SDK was extremely full of features, so we were able to knock it out in a week. Now that goes to say that, again, the team that I have is awesome to be able to do that, but also, again, the SDK was able to make that happen. So those two things were seriously leveled up our project.
That's amazing. So, Nick, I have a question for you. From an artist's perspective, what did Lightship and AR unlock for you from a creative standpoint, and did you approach your design work differently because of it?
Yeah, so our original inspiration was Monument Valley, and I feel like we were able to get a lot of mileage out of a really simple execution and a really simple aesthetic. Just there's something very inherently kind of not tangential, just like feels like you can sort of touch it. I'm totally forgetting the word for it, but I feel like we got a lot of mileage out of a really simple idea just by virtue of it being in AR. It's kind of one of the sort of ideas I had in mind was, or sort of feelings I had in mind was like family game night, just like the kind of community aspect and the sort of tangible aspect. That's the word I was looking for. So I definitely kept that in mind while I was working on the aesthetic for it.
Nice. Definitely see the like the Monument Valley influence in there too. Very cool. Now, this is a question for all of you, and I think we'll start over with you, John. What feature in Lightship itself do you see as having the most potential, for your game as well as for the industry at large? Like, what was the thing that really struck you the most in your experience as, wow, not only is this great for my game, but I can't even imagine how like hundreds or thousands of developers might leverage this in the future?
I would still say the meshing aspect. I mean, again, multiplayer that's different. AR and multiplayer, they don't really exist yet, so that's gonna blow anything like open. But I think that whole meshing environment is wild, because once you have your entire environment mapped, you can do whatever you want with it. You saw Petricor's game. They were able to. I actually just messaged him on Discord, because he said his first level was requiring the player to grab just the map so they can use it in later levels. That's like really smart, and because then you can do whatever you want, and then the player is already taking care of some of the work for you. And we had something very similar as well. It's just, again, that fact that you're able to do something with a digital space, and the SDK just makes it really simple for you to be able to leverage that. And I think that is something that any person, any developer, when they want to make an AR project, should use. And that, yeah, yes, that.
Very cool. There's a common theme with you, John, tonight with meshing, so it seems like it's really, really sort of struck a chord throughout this process.
Yeah, it's so cool, man.
Cool. So Nick, same question for you. What was the lead sort of feature that sort of struck you as unlocking the potential for the game that you all worked on, and also sort of indicating what could sort of impact the industry at large moving forward?
So I didn't actually use the tool myself. I mostly exported my art assets, but I did get to see the two programmers on the team, the designers, play around with it, and I got a really good sense of how it worked just through osmosis. And I think one of the main sort of features, aspects I noticed is that it just seems really accessible, and that's really important because I work a lot as an indie artist myself, and you don't always have the time or capabilities as an artist to code everything from scratch. There's a lot, you want to use a lot of sort of plugins to sort of help you with that. So I feel like making AR as a whole like really accessible to people that might not have a coding background is just going to be like a huge game changer, and will definitely allow people that might be intimidated by a process that might otherwise be really complex to give it a try.
Yeah, and I feel like your game specifically like really speaks to that accessibility, since this was a brand new idea, brand new concept brought to life. Obviously not completely finished just yet, but look how far it already came in just a week. So I feel like your team is really a testament to that specific element of it, the accessibility. All right, Lex, over to you. Same question. What was your sort of like main rock star feature that really stuck out?
Yeah, I mean, definitely I see the impact of the meshing for sure. Like being able to take, because what AR does really well is you're taking the virtual and bringing it into the physical. But if you can pull some of that physical, your environment, and this is some of the future plans that we had for this virtual social tool, was to be able to take that physical environment and bring it into the virtual world, so people joining virtually get a sense of your environment. It just blends the two worlds a lot when you can start grabbing what's in front of you, but also pulling virtual elements into it and then bringing real world elements into the virtual. A lot of cool opportunities there. But then naturally that leads into some of the multiplayer elements, because you want these social interactions, this kind of virtual language where people are going to be able to experience things together. And having the tools to create that kind of experience where you can blend the virtual and the physical and you can bring people together creates for a lot of unique opportunities in terms of virtual interaction.
Unique opportunities seems to be the big feature here with ARDK. So I'd like to restart the roundtable with John, and I have a feeling the answer might just be meshing, but I have to ask anyway. What was your biggest takeaway about the ARDK from your jam week?
The biggest takeaway. I don't know. Just the fact that there were so many robust features that we were able to play around with. Like it was a sandbox, which is what Unity, or rather what any game engine's supposed to be. But this sandbox within a sandbox really allowed all these teams, and my team, just to be able to play around and find what fits. So it was really nice to be able to have all these features that did seemingly work right out the box, so that we could create. And so that's what really stood out to me, and that was really unique, and that I really appreciated about this experience, the options that were available.
Great. And Nick, what would you say yours or your team's biggest takeaway was from ARDK from this week?
I think definitely, I think it speaks to the stability of the program, that nothing like broke, nothing went haywire in the last few minutes. Like a lot, especially if game jams on their own. A lot of times, I've done a lot of game jams, and it always feels like you're kind of just dragging yourself towards the finish line. So I was kind of expecting that, but this actually went very smoothly, and I was very pleasantly surprised. Like there was nothing wacky with exporting. There was nothing I had to do extra steps for. It all just kind of worked, and the fact that it's such an early development and it works this well already, and is easy for me to understand, even kind of working on the outside of it. I think it's definitely pointing towards it being going in the right direction.
Well said. Definitely well said.
Sounds like it came in clutch. Yeah. Lex, what do you think? What was your biggest takeaway from this week?
Yeah, I mean, this is just cool because, having this tool set, having new ways to quickly explore kind of the existing thought process that we've been going through for virtual social experiences, just adds to just our understanding of how people interact in virtual. There's a lot that we learned just in terms of what this experience could feel like, and how people can use AR to get a little bit closer, to experience each other, what it's like for people who are bringing virtual guests into their space, what it can be like for the virtual guests. And we're just kind of learning through this process and these tools, just little bits and pieces of that virtual communication and what that could look like.
Nice. Yeah, and Lex, out of the three guests we have joining us right now, you and your team put together, the one project that is not gaming specific, is not like sort of gamified or pure gaming. So I'm super excited to see where that concept that you put together sort of goes from here. Now, over to Nick. We asked John and Lex this question on previous panels tonight, so now, of course, it's your turn. What are you most proud of your team for overcoming from the last week of jamming? Like, what was that one sort of standout moment that made you super proud of yourself and your team from this week?
Honestly, just kind of persevering with an unfamiliar tool set. That's difficult when you're not under a time limit. Like that's difficult when you have like time to learn it. It's like stressful in those situations. So just like persevering and sticking with it. And I mean, this is honestly probably the smoothest game jam I've participated in. It just, I got an asset list. I went to work. I found out anything that needed fixes or tweaking, and I put it in. So it's like we all sort of worked just very smoothly together, and they picked this thing up like on day one. Like they were already testing with it on like the first couple days and had it down.
Nice.
That's so cool. I'd love to round out this panel with one final question, and I'll start with Lex this time to keep it interesting. Where would you like to see the Lightship platform go from here?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say as much as we can incorporate more of those multiplayer features, getting more people involved, finding new ways to connect people in the same place across different locations, that's the kind of stuff that I think is going to be super interesting just in terms of creating unique experiences. I think we've seen a lot of AR experiences that are solo driven, that use the space around you really well. and Lightship is creating new features for that. But just seeing more of the multiplayer elements and seeing new ways to connect people through augmented reality, that's the kind of stuff that I'm interested in.
That's right. And your project and John's had a multiplayer element to both of them, or the hopeful multiplayer element in the future. So it's really exciting to see that Lightship already has the capabilities for that. Nick, where would you like to see Lightship go from here?
Well, one thing I really also appreciated about our game, this is and this is kind of relevant to like Lightship as a whole. I feel like that sort of tangibility that I mentioned has universal appeal, not just to people who game, but people who don't, because it's kind of like a language that you learn if you grow up playing games, and as opposed to like doing puzzles or moving puzzle pieces around or moving figurines around. So I feel like pushing that tangibility will really help people sort of make projects that don't just appeal to sort of a gaming demographic, but appeal to adults. Like when Pokemon Go came out, I was shocked that my mom picked it up. She does not play games, so I was like, "Whoa, you did what? You're playing what? I didn't even tell you about this." So I always sort of love when people who are not in that world get to sort of be in that world for a little bit without feeling sort of overwhelmed by sort of language of games that they did not, they're not familiar with. So yeah, just like the sort of simplicity of it, I can see that being really applicable.
And you know something, Nick, with your team's project, even from what we saw just with the music and the art, it already felt so immersive. So it would be really cool to see where that could potentially go using the Lightship software. So that's pretty amazing. John, to you, where would you like to see the Lightship platform go?
I'm glad you asked me last because I had to think about that for a minute. I still
it's all
think
part of my plan.
I think, and this isn't meant to be a feature request. This is something I feel like would benefit a lot of people is geolocation, and because I know that's asking a lot, or that's a heavy thing to be able to leverage. I know that it works over in Pokemon Go to a certain extent, and actually quite well. And those type of features weren't necessarily things that I saw immediately available within the ARDK. But I think that as we tack on more multiplayer experiences, there is going to be this type of desire to be like, okay, here I am as a player playing in Detroit, and I want to know exactly where my friend is that's playing over in New York or wherever else they might be around the world. And so I think that to scale that out, finding some way to kind of package or streamline the usage of geolocation would be something really fun to see how augmented reality experiences can become even more robust.
It's a great suggestion.
Totally. And the best part is this is just the beginning. So Thank you, John. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Lex. Please send our best to your teams. Thank you for pouring your blood, sweat, and tears into these games and experiences this week. So excited to see sort of talent and passion match new technology and where it can go from there. So please keep in touch and keep us posted on where things do go from here, because we can't wait to see where they evolve. So thanks again for joining us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Woo. Well done, everyone.
We did it. Yes. All right, great. All right, well, that is all of our special guests tonight, Holly. So before we go, let's go ahead and take, I know, we're the only special guests to remain. But hey, hopefully we were good. Yeah, so before we go, let's go ahead and take a look at some upcoming important dates in the Lightship Global Jam. All right, so obviously we just wrapped our USA leg of the journey. Coming up in just about 9 days is our Europe leg of the journey. It's July 25th to the 31st. We will have an opening and closing stream on this channel to meet those developers from various countries around the EU. And then just like we did tonight, we'll be able to check out a debut and sort of a preview and sneak peek of the games and experiences that they worked on. So definitely tune back in for those. And then additionally, later on this summer, we're going to round out our world tour, heading on over to Japan, where our developers will be building games and experiences from August 29th to September the 4th. So go ahead and visit lightshipglobaljam.com for more information. You can see the URL right there on the screen. If you are a developer or developers in Europe or Japan, go for it. Please apply on there, get more information, and that's the place for full info on the Lightship Global Jam. If you're a developer in the US that was not able to participate in this specific leg of the Lightship Global Jam, no worries at all. Sign up for the Lightship beta are live. It's open now, so you can head on over to niantic.dev to get in on the action yourself and build out your own games and experiences, highlighting the future of AR and unlocking the potential of getting outside and moving around with your phone and checking out some new things in the world, which I think is something we all can do nowadays. Lots coming up.
I mean, I feel so encouraged myself to check that beta out. And now after hearing what all the devs have had to say about it, I'm kind of like, maybe I could do it.
Yeah, it makes you kind of feel like, well, what did you do in the last week? You know what I mean? So they actually made all these great new games and experiences, obviously sort of prototype stage, early stage of them in such a short period of time with this brand new technology that they just got access to. So definitely puts things into perspective. But Holly, you and I should get together and try to make something ourselves at some point.
I think we should. I think we could make something really cool. And then maybe we can debut it when we do the pig races in Central Park.
Yes, exactly. We have a lot of plans coming up.
Absolutely. So yeah, this is always such a joy to do these jam streams with you guys because I love talking to the devs. I love getting to experience the hard work that they put their souls into. Like, this is always such an amazing experience. So thank you once again to all of the devs that stopped by today. Thank you to John, Jess, Lex, Nick, Oliver, and thank you to Amanda who stopped by from Niantic. Thank you to Playcrafting and Niantic for organizing this jam, this first leg of a global jam. It's going to be so exciting to see what comes up next with the next two events that we have coming up. And thank you so much to you, the viewers, for watching this and coming on this fun little panel journey with us and picking the brains of these devs. So I'm Holly Peppermint. I have been your host. If you'd like to catch up on all of the future jam happenings, you can follow at Playcrafting on Twitter, as well as right here, you're at their Twitch. So, you know, you're already there. And then we have Dan Butchko. Thank you so much for co-hosting with me tonight. It's always a pleasure. And that's going to do it for us for this closing jam. This is the closing of the closing jam. Do you have any final remarks, Dan?
No, I think, as always, you know, it's so nice to be able to get a peek behind the curtain and get to know some of these devs. A lot of folks who play games or download, you know, apps on their phone that may not even be gaming related, often don't get a chance to meet the folks that make those games or experiences. And so I always love just getting a nice peek inside the lives of and the workspaces of and the mentality and the thought process and the design process for folks that sort of take the leap and have that passion and talent and marry it with awesome new technology like the Lightship ARDK. So super exciting stuff, and can't wait to see where these games and devs go from here. So you can follow me on Twitter. It's just at Dan Butchko. You can see it on your screen there. Again, lightshipglobaljam.com, playcrafting.com, niantic.dev. So many different places to get in on the action for what we have coming up and to get your hands on the Lightship ARDK. So thanks again, Holly, for letting me join you tonight and for helping be our MC tonight. And I think that just about does it.
All right. Well, thank you so much to everyone involved tonight, and congratulations to our teams. Seriously, get some rest because I know you're probably going to try to go back and fix things and tweak. You can do it tomorrow. So thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you on the next one. Have a good night.
That's right. Bye-bye.